Hey friends, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do so. So this Cloud Guru Ninja is the YouTube handle for this channel. Please welcome to this part 31. There are some more parts with lots of questions and answers in the Cloud Kernel membership area. Click the join button below this video or use the link in the description to become a Cloud Kernel and gain access to those videos. So this is a very interesting question. You have some PII data like your credit card number, and this data must be encrypted and it should be replicated 500 miles apart. One thumb rule, please remember, if it is 500 miles apart, you should. So 500 miles apart means region and not availability zone. Always remember, availability zones are not placed so far. It is not 500 miles apart. It is closer, a lot closer than that. Availability zones, they are 100 miles apart max. It has to be within the 100-mile radius. So any option which has availability zone, which has availability zones is wrong, is wrong. So the answer has to be between B and C because both are making use of regions and regions. This is the first part. Now, how to choose the right answer? Let us look at the requirement. Okay, replication. Is there a is there something mentioned? So we see cross region replication between buckets and cross region replication between buckets. So this both the answers are correct. Like both the options have the same answers. Now let us look at whether they are addressing encryption at rest first. Okay, so encryption at rest means whatever data is residing in the files in AWS S3 is that encrypted. Okay, so encryption at rest, here they are saying use bucket policy to enforce these keys on all objects uploaded. So this is encryption at rest, and here they are saying enforce bucket policy. So this is also same. The answers are same here. Now let us look at encryption in transit. That means when the data is moving from one place to other, it should be encrypted. So how it is encrypted? It is encrypted using HTTPS protocol. So here there is a difference. Here we see use access buckets through HTTPS. This is right. But here we are saying they want to do it through IAM to enforce access of buckets through HTTPS. This is a very good article. Here you see you can give access. If it is HTTP, you say I will not give you access. If it is HTTPS, then you can give access. How? You can give it using your bucket policies. Okay, so if you see this line, to determine whether request is HTTPS, the secure transport global condition in S3 bucket policy is used. Another important thing you should remember, please focus on this one. HTTPS means it follows TLS protocol. TLS protocol is always followed for encryption in transit. There is a certificate that needs to be generated, which is used to encrypt the data that is traveling. So this option is my answer. Now you might ask why IAM role cannot be used for this purpose. You see this option IAM role to enforce. I'll tell you the reason. You see the IAM role, why it is used. Suppose you have two roles, developer and administrator. So you give access to a bucket to a role, all developers can access it. But the role cannot say, or it will not know if the request is coming as HTTP or HTTPS. The role cannot identify, it is blind there. So you have to enforce something at the bucket level itself. At the bucket level, that means before someone is getting into the gate, they have to show their ID card. If their ID card is HTTP, they will not be allowed to get in. If their ID card says HTTPS SS, then they will be allowed to get into the complex. So this would be my final answer. Let's look at this next question. See, this is a CI/CD pipeline question. What you want to do, see, to try to understand what they are telling is you should be able to re-provision in alternate account or region within minutes. Why do we do that? Suppose we come to know that this region, uh, the data center is going through a network failure or some natural disaster or man-made disaster like earthquake, etc. We know that uh, it's raining heavily and it will get flooded. So we want to provision the entire stuff through CI/CD pipeline in a different region so that the services will be still operational. Second, where is the code residing? The code is residing in code commit. It is just like your GitHub code commit, but code commit is a AWS service. So you store your code there. See, now they are saying which combination of actions you should take to build this pipeline so that you can re-provision within minutes into a separate region. Since, see, we'll just use common sense. Since this is a CI/CD question, we will uh, strike out few options. Okay, what would be first? The first one which sounds off is this SQSQ. You know, SQS is used to send messages or decouple components. Here, the pipeline components, SQS will not help you. SQS is never used in for CI/CD purposes. First of all, so this is wrong. Now B is saying that you copy the build artifact from code commit to S3. Why? See, code commit is there. They are saying that, see, your code is there in code commit. They are saying, hey, let's bring that into a S3 bucket. But this is not required. Okay. Third thing which looks incorrect is C. It is saying you create a auto scaling group EC2 instances behind ALB and set ALB as deployment target of code pipeline. See, we have to use a service which aligns with CI/CD. You will not try to customize and create your own solution. When you use EC2 here, you're trying to create your own solution. The way AWS looks at it is, if you're trying to create your own solution, that means you don't know much about AWS services. There was a service which you should have used, but you reinvented the wheel using EC2. That is the reason we should not select C as an option. Now A is telling you configure code pipeline with a build stage using code build. That means you can build and test your code with automatic scaling. So you don't have to set up, manage or patch servers. So this is my first answer. Now D says that you got to use Elastic Beanstalk environment as a target for code pipeline. We use Beanstalk to quickly deploy applications. That is what we need in our question. We want to deploy in minutes. You see this here, in minutes. So D would be my second answer. And we have to choose three answers. You choose three. We are left with F. So F would be my last answer. So provision all resources through cloud formation. Why? Because cloud formation is infrastructure as a code. So if you want to do it in minutes, that means that, see, if you have 5 EC2 instances, would you manually create within minutes? Or if you have 100 EC2 instances, will you manually create and will you be able to create it in minutes? No. How you can create in minutes is using cloud formation. So this is just like services like Terraform. So this would be my final answer. So let us look at this next question. See, these green boxes are your legacy applications, and you have to send them, like the logs from here to S3. These logs are in different formats for different applications, may have logs in different formats. If it is a Java application, the format is different. If it is a Perl application, the log format is different, and so on. That is why what they are saying is, please standardize the format before you write to S3. Okay. In real world, we do analytics on top of the log data. If the files are not standardized, it will be so difficult to marry the files for creating an analytics solution. We want a low cost solution. In India, the low cost solution for cars is it's ranging from Maruti and Hyundai. These cars are cheap, the initial versions, basic versions. Similarly here, if you see, we want low cost, and here the moment I see EMR, I apply my thumb rule that if you have to save money, okay, if your dad is poor, you cannot afford EMR cluster. In this case, your dad is your client. If your client is poor, you cannot afford EMR cluster. Okay, first of all. Okay, second thing, EMR cluster was Mercedes Benz. Now if your client does not have money, if your dad is poor, you cannot afford BMW also. Redshift is BMW. You cannot afford that also. So Mercedes Benz and BMW is gone because there is no money, much money. Now what to choose? If you see option B, it is telling it will send the log to QuickSight. Okay, QuickSight is a dashboarding tool. What will you do by sending to QuickSight and then use Splice to normalize the logs? See, you need something like ETL, Glue, or you need Lambda, those kind of stuff to process the data. QuickSight will not process the data. Whatever data you have, it will show the data in this dashboard. Simple. It is a dashboarding tool. So B is wrong. Now we are left with one option. The option is D. And this looks correct. Why? Because see, we will use Kinesis agent. Now you might say, hey, the moment we hear Kinesis means real time. Yes, it is real time, and the logs are also shared real time. Okay, the application, these green boxes, will share the logs with S3 real time. So what will happen is agents will upload the logs and have Kinesis Firehose use Lambda function to normalize the logs. So who is normalizing the logs? Some ETL tool or some data processing massaging tool like Lambda is normalizing the logs before you write into S3. So Lambda, it will sit here, it will massage the format, normalize the format of the logs, and then the data will hit, or the files will hit S3. So these are all normalized files. So this is my answer. See, thumb rule, whenever you see logs, and this is a near real time or real time use case. Whenever you have such use cases, Kinesis somewhere you should use. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this part. You can subscribe to this channel. A lot of interesting content and questions are there. So let's revisit the thumb rules we learned. First of all, if you see anything 500 miles apart, you should think about regions and not AZs. AZs are 100 within 100 miles. And if you are talking about encryption in transit, you enforce it using bucket policies, not IAM. If you see encryption at rest, you should always use keys. The keys can be KMS or managed KMS keys or customer managed keys. And you should use bucket policies. Policies will ensure the moment the file enters S3, it should be encrypted. So at rest, it will be encrypted. Another thumb rule we went through was for recreating an environment in minutes, you should use infrastructure as a code as a feature. In AWS, CloudFormation provides this feature because if you have hundreds of EC2 instances or other resources like databases, you cannot recreate them in minutes. Only through automation you can do that in minutes, and that automation is cloud formation. Another thumb rule that we have to apply is, when you are working with logs, always remember logs, transfer of logs, these are all near real time or real time scenarios. Always think about services like Kinesis. So this is the handle cloud. This is the handle, YouTube handle of this channel. Please subscribe. A lot of people have benefited. They have cleared their certification. There are many more questions in the cloud kernel members area. Please click the link in the description, become a cloud kernel member, and gain access to these important questions. You have to go through the free videos as well as the paid videos. Together, it will create a very strong understanding which will help you clear these certifications. This brings us to the end of part 31. See you in the next part.